Hi everybody, how are you today? And a new episode of your Languages of the World and the English language. Actually today we have a very interesting subject or topic because it is about culture differences, الاختلافات الثقافية, and of course all of us know that a lot of countries have nice cultures and civilizations. دول كتيرة ليها ثقافات وحضارات جميلة that we don't know about. Maybe we don't know about all of them. We just know about few of them, the most famous, but not all of them. And this is our goal, to let you know more about different cultures and different civilizations, different information. So we try our best to make you interested and to make you entertained, but in the English language. So today we are having something interesting, and we have the cultural geography, our folk customs. The folk customs are the customs of people from around the world. So let us have this tour, which I know it will be very interesting for you. First thing, we have the folk customs, or the customs of the people. They are actually developed and practiced primarily by small groups living in more isolated rural areas. So today we are going to talk about the rural areas, more or less, not the urban areas. And by rural areas means we talk about people in countryside, الناس في الأرياف, more than the urban areas أو الأماكن اللي هي المدن. So we will talk about the culture of people in these places, maybe kind of isolated, أماكن منعزلة شوية عن المدن. So this will be our focus today. The social customs, such as the provision of clothing, shelter, transportation, and food, also have developed differently in different areas of the world. We will talk about some of the social customs, like the clothing, the shelter, transportation, because natural resources vary widely from place to place. Why the cultures are so different? ليه الثقافات مختلفة? Because of the natural resources, بسبب الموارد الطبيعية. And by natural resources could be the landscape, or could be the weather, or could be the geographical factor. A lot of factors affect this. For example, here we start by the clothing in Guatemala. In Guatemala, the clothing style of women and girls is the quiche, and quiche highlands of western Guatemala. This is how they wear their clothes. You know, nice cap on their head and a nice little girl. And again, this is the rural areas or the countryside areas. For men, while it is more common in developing countries to see women and girls wearing traditional clothing, with men more commonly wearing Western style clothing, رغم ان في معتاد ان الستات في المكان ده بيلبسوا الهدوم التقليدية ورجالة بتلبس شبه الغرب شوية. Men in rural regions may still prefer traditional styles of dress. بعض الرجالة في المنطقة الريفية دي بيفضلوا يلبسوا التراديشنال ستايل أو الأسلوب التراديشنال التقليدي. Like in Santiago, Atitlan and Guatemala. في المناطق دي بيفضلوا يلبسوا زي ما الصورة موضحة. In Samoa, Samoan chief in traditional clothing. Notice the tattoo adornment on leg and torso also. They wear this, and they have tattoos on their bodies, covering most of their bodies. So this is in Samoa. Coming to Spain, and we all know Spain, of course, the Spanish girls dancing at a feria. It is a fair, or معرض. Jerris, it's called jerris or jerris in of course the Spanish language. In Western developed countries, some style of folk dress may still be worn. So these girls are wearing the traditional clothes in this fair or in this festival, and sometimes in other countries this folk dress is still be worn in only festivals. Here in China, a popular style of clothing among young Chinese males. This is a kind of, you know, it looks like a military suit between boys or young Chinese boys, it is a style of clothing, and again it is in the rural areas, because in urban or cities they prefer the Western style. Here for some of the workers, the ubiquitous Mao suit. Ubiquitous means it is so special or kind of unique. This is a suit, a kind of blue suit, a garment of choice in China since 1949. يعني دي كانت نوع من أنواع الملابس المفضلة في China من since 1949 when the communist era began. والحقيقة هم ابتدوا يلبسوها في عصر الاشتراكية على أساس إن كل الناس تبقى لابسة شبه بعض، مفيش حد مميز عن التاني. It was kind of uniform for the workers then، يعني شبه اليونيفورم علشان هم بيحبوا يلبسوا زي بعض. الشيوعية. Yes. Kazakhstan. In Kazakhstan, and this is in Asia also, Kazakh rider in the Alatau range south of Almaty in Kazakhstan. These are places in Kazakhstan, a region of the world traditionally inhabited by nomadic horsemen. Nomadic means Badu, بيتحركوا من مكان لمكان. Here is the style this man is wearing. It's kind of simple clothes. In Uzbekistan, I think it is so near from Kazakhstan, this is a variety of female traditional clothing in Samarkand Oblast in Uzbekistan. Look at their colorful and nice clothing, traditional, nice and colorful clothing. Here in Syria, of course all of us know Syria, we have this nice grandmother and her grandson, rural village of Fidra in Syria. They are from a village من قرية in Fidra في Syria. In Yemen, we have kind of sari style conservative female wear. It's kind of sari, but still it's covering the face. It's a different look than more common khadr or burqa worn outside of the home by most women in the Arabian Peninsula. يعني الهدوم دي مختلفة شوية عن الهدوم اللي بتلبسها بقية السيدات في الجزيرة العربية. It's kind of a sari style. In Jordan, of course, we know this kind of style. Kufiya or head cloth, and iqal or iqal, double ring of black cord, traditional raiment of males in the Middle East, traditional clothing of males in the Middle East in Jordan Valley في الأردن. In Morocco, المغرب, water cellar. This is a water cellar in traditional garb, a common sight in Morocco at markets, bus stations, and other public places where crowds gather. In Marrakesh, in Morocco. Actually, this is kind of something traditional. I think he is wearing this to sell more of his water. It's colorful and, yeah, traditional, so traditional. In Jordan again, we have this nice boy. He is wearing kufiya capped Bedouin shepherds. They are Bedouin shepherds or like Badu, and they are shepherds, means shepherd. The meaning of shepherd is Ru'at Aghnam in the desert of northeast Jordan. They have to wear this, by the way, just to protect them from the sun, because it's very hot in the desert, so they wear this to protect them from the sun, the hot sun actually. Coming to Europe, we go to Italy, and of course not all people wear this except for the ethnic dress of the bagpipe player. It's a kind of musical instrument, and its player in Rome, he is wearing this for commercial purposes, يعني للدعاية, to make people watch him. He is wearing kind of ethnic dress. Tourists pay to have photos taken of or with him. And of course, when someone of the tourists who wants to have a souvenir from Italy, he has a photo with this man wearing ethnic dress to have something nice when he goes home, a nice photo. Well, this was for Italy, but now we will watch something nice about Chinese culture. I know you all like Chinese culture. Let us have a short commentary. Well, it appeared to be Japanese, not Chinese actually, because as we all know that the Japanese wear the kimono and they have these fans. Actually, the Japanese culture is a very old culture, but the Chinese is older. Let us admit it, because the Japanese culture is so affected by the Chinese culture. يعني الثقافة اليابانية متأثرة جدا بالثقافة الصينية. But actually the Japanese have unique style in their clothing. بس هم عندهم شكل مميز جدا في لبسهم. And the fan also, the fan was kind of accessory used with this kimono, and they got the silk by which they made their kimonos from Chinese. يعني لو رجعنا بالزمن لورا، الصين أثرت كتير قوي على الثقافة اليابانية، لدرجة ان الكيمونوز اللي احنا شفناهم او اللبس التقليدي بتاع اليابانيين معمول من الحرير. والحرير كانت الصين هي البلد الأكثر اشتهارا بأنها بتصنع الحرير. Talking about traditional clothing, and before we move to the architecture أو المعمار, I have to mention that what I'm wearing today is so related to the traditional Egyptian clothing. You know that this is handmade by the Bedouins in Sinai, and if you go to Sinai, you can have a lot of traditional souvenirs from the Bedouin there. They are so skilled in, you know, making shawls like the shawl I'm wearing, or making some handmade things. And really I'm proud of my traditional clothing in a lot of areas in Egypt. Let us continue with the architecture. The architecture is another distinguishing element of surface culture, which may be influenced by elements of deep culture. So another element of culture، يعني كمان من عناصر الثقافة المعروفة في أي بلد وبتميز أي بلد غير الهدوم، طبعا المعمار أو الفن المعماري. Like for example، وبرضه هفكركم احنا برضه بنتكلم عن المناطق الريفية مش المدن، عشان المدن حاجة تانية خالص. The folk architecture has always utilized materials found in abundance in the local environment. Coming to Canada or any other place، الحقيقة عادة المعمار أو البيوت، فن البناء كان بيعتمد على استخدام الماتيريالز found in abundance in the local environment. بيستخدموا المواد اللي كانت موجودة في البيئة المحيطة بيهم. These reconstructed 11th century sod buildings are built from blocks of earth cut from the tundra. هنا we have this old place or lodging in Canada. It's made from blocks of earth، يعني قطع من الأرض أو من التربة مصنوعة اتصنع بيها البيت ده. Few trees or stones are available for building materials in this part of the world. وكمان الناس بتعمل بيوتها من الحجارة أو من الأشجار اللي متواجدة طبعا بكثرة في المنطقة دي. Northern Newfoundland, Canada. This is piece of rural Canada، من كندا في الريف في كندا. In Syria طبعا again in the villages، beehive style or beehive style. beehive style زي ما بتعمل النحلة الخلية بتاعتها، البيوت دي عاملة زي البيهايف style. constructed of dried earth، معمولة من الطين الناشف الجاف. material found in abundance on the arid plains of central Syria، ودي مادة موجودة بكثرة في المناطق الجافة. arid means جافة، السهول الجافة في سوريا. It's very nice and it's kind of so traditional. Then we have in Yemen, look at this building. It's elaborate ornamentation in the stonework of a house in Thala في Yemen. هنا في مبنى decorated or ornamented، يعني مزخرف بشكل دقيق جدا في الحجر، يعني أحجار مزخرفة، يعني مش خشب، لا هي أحجار وتم بيها زخرفة المنزل ده. طبعا very interesting and lovely. In Nebraska, here is an old settler's cabin constructed of split logs. زي ما احنا شايفين الكابن دي او زي كوخ صغير معمول من split logs. split logs يعني عواميد خشب او اللي هي جذع الشجر. Eastern Nebraska، ده في شرق نبراسكا. In the Dominican Republic actually we have houses constructed of palm wood and thatch. يعني البيوت شبه أعشاش معمولة من خشب أشجار النخيل والقش. The most abundant construction material available around La Isabela settlement, Dominican Republic. وأجان الناس دايما بتستخدم المواد المحيطة بيهم في البيئة بتاعتهم عشان يصنعوا منازلهم. زي ما زمان in the pharaonic times the people used to build their houses from the clay أو من الطمي النيل. كانوا بيعملوا البيوت بتاعتهم بهذا الشكل في المناطق الريفية. So we all have it in common. العامل ده مشترك ما بين كل المناطق الريفية في العالم، دايما يستخدموا المواد المتاحة في البيئة اللي حواليهم. Then we come to Jordan. Here is a traditional architecture constructed with more modern building materials of concrete. هنا يعني شوية modern لأن البيوت معمولة من الأسمنت and cinder block. This neighborhood in central Amman, المكان ده في منتصف عمان. Jordan is typical of modern middle class Middle East architecture. والأردن بتتميز إنها المعمار فيها modern ويعني الطبقة الميدل كلاس وفي اللي هو الشرق الأوسط. Coming to Poland. Poland is in Europe. This is a traditional European architecture in the old town of Warsaw in Poland. ده طبعا مبنى تقليدي جدا من التقاليد الأوروبية، مبنى أوروبي تقليدي في وارسو، مدينة قديمة وارسو في بولندا. ولو زرتوا أوروبا هتلاقوا معظم المباني بالشكل ده. After the architecture we come to religion, الدين، الأديان. Not all of them but in some of the places. ويتكلم عن religion, rituals, الطقوس, behavior and etc. For example, in Mexico, the religion is another facet of culture that is commonly etched into the landscape. يعني جزء كبير قوي من الثقافة بتاعتهم هو الدين ومرتبط بالطبيعة اللي حواليهم. This remote shrine in the southern Baja Peninsula of Mexico provides evidence that Christianity is entrenched in this part of the world. يعني الضريح ده أو القبر ده بيبين لنا إن الديانة المسيحية كانت موجودة في الجزء ده من العالم من وقت طويل. In Egypt, we can see a mosque here with twin minaret spires, يعني عنده منارتين الجامع at the southern entrance of the Suez Canal in Egypt, في مدخل قناة السويس. It reveals the ubiquitous presence of Islam. Ubiquitous means unique presence and all presence of Islam in this region of the world. طبعا وجود الإسلام في البلد. In Armenia, the Mr. Pig restaurant in Yerevan, Armenia. Though this country borders the Islamic countries of Iran, Azerbaijan and Turkey, is obviously not Islamic. يعني رغم ان أرمينيا محاطة ببعض الدول الإسلامية زي إيران وأذربيجان وتركيا، لكن الدولة دي مش دولة إسلامية. It is a Christian nation, دولة مسيحية. As pork and references to pigs and pork are avoided in Muslim regions, here is kind of a restaurant that serves pig meat or pork. And before we move on with the transportation and the culture about it, we can have something nice about the Russian culture. Let us enjoy it together. Well, very nice dance actually, and very nice clothing, and very, very organized movement on the stage. The Russian dance. Actually, this reminds me with the Russian ballet, and they are so famous by the ballet, so well done, Russians. Okay, let us continue with the transportation and the differences in transportation again in the rural areas, because we are gonna see animals like this, not buses, not cabs. We are going to see animals. So here we have some surface culture. Surface culture means kind of culture that's not deep, but it is greatly influenced by the technological level of the society. So when the society is technologically advanced, this affects the culture a big deal. So let us start by some of transportation in Guatemala again. It's a home-built canoe in Lake Atitlan, western Guatemala. It's kind of a canoe, but it is kind of homemade. It's a traditional form of transportation throughout the world, especially in less developed countries. Guatemala is a less developed country, so people there transport with the canoe. Look at the clothing of the man. Here we had it earlier in the episode. This is their traditional clothing with the canoe, especially despite the presence of and growing dependence on modern transport. Although there are kind of modern transport, they still use this traditional canoe. In China, people power fishing vessels in the Li River near Yangshu in China. So in China, there are some kind of fishing vessels, a boat for fishing, and it's traditional, it is old, it is in the countryside or the fishing areas among the fishermen. In the Ecuador, family transport with dad at the steering pole on the Rio Napo, upper Amazon basin, eastern Ecuador. You can imagine that it's kind of touristic kind of transportation because of it's you know, it's old, and I think it's interesting. In Colombia, heading home from market with a head full of produce in southern Colombia. She has here kind of, you know, it's a horse, and this lady is coming from the market with it. So he is in Colombia. In Mexico, burro transportation is a kind, you know, an animal between a horse and a donkey. It's a transportation thing in this area in Mexico, again in the rural area. In Morocco, ships of the desert or سفن الصحراء, the camels, Sahara traffic at Erkchibi near Merzouga in Morocco. Of course, this is in the rural area or the desert area. Of course, they are used to move in the desert with camels. In Nicaragua, they have the ox cart. Ox cart means a cart is pulled by an ox. عربيات بيجذبها الأوكس الثور. In Portugal, we have the horse cart. In Portugal, it's a kind of folk transportation, still sometimes seen in more developed countries. You can see this, okay, the horse cart, we can have it here in Egypt. We can have some of these traditional transportation, and actually they are not bad. Along with the modern means of transportation, these kinds of transportation make us feel like more connected with our past traditions, more connected with our culture, and tourists love to see these things when they come to any country. So it is kind of touristic attraction. It is not bad or not old. It is touristic attraction, and that's what gives it its glamour. Glamour means bariq and brightness. The word is so wide, and the cultures are so different, and so many. So let us learn more about the cultures, enjoy them more, and have fun knowing about every culture in the world, besides being proud of our own culture, the Egyptian culture. It was a very enriching episode, enriching Tharia, full of information, but also it was interesting being with you today. Thank you. Until I see you next time, have a nice day.